everyone, welcome to Handing the Shame Back, a show dedicated to all the amazing men and women and others across the world who have experienced child sexual abuse in all its many forms. This channel is dedicated to you, lovely ones, and we are here with survivors every week to bring you their stories and maybe share some wisdom. Yes, we do have some wisdom. So before we launch in, we're back with Donald Cribbs, and he is going to start talking to us about his life as an adult and what he's now doing and the books and the amazing work he's bringing. But before we do, remember there's always a trigger warning, so here it is. If for any reason you start to feel a bit unsafe, please do respect that. Stop watching, go to show notes below and you'll be directed to some resource and support. Over to you, fabulous Dawn. Welcome back.
Well, thank you so much, Gloria. It's wonderful to be back, and it's been great to be a part of this so far. So I'm really looking forward to today, digging into, you heard a bit about where I was, what I experienced growing up, and just I did not find the world to be very safe. I didn't find it something I could trust, and I was perplexed. I didn't know what to make of it. When I went to my family for help, of course, I had to go through a trial and a court case that took 2 years. And I had to go to mandatory counseling, which I hated. And I shut down and I didn't talk to them. I wasn't ready to process it. It was just too soon. Where am I now? Where did I end up? Well, funny story. I'm a licensed professional counselor now. So here I am. It's just the irony of the whole thing.
No one's
I
calling you a hypocrite.
it was more that I discovered my purpose in, well, I have this thing and I'm really good at this skill because I had to be. I spent 4 decades climbing my way out of the pit of it. And um, I had no help. I had to do it entirely on my own. My family said, "We don't know what to do. We don't know how to help you. You're just going to have to figure it out." And one of the things that I think was the most in my face was the symptom of hypervigilance. I mean, I am looking in 1,000 directions all the time. My brain is running reports constantly. I'm zipping by a Rolodex of tools and resources and run the reports again. you know, I'm I'm in that mode all the time, just constantly on guard, worried that something's going to happen, even when I'm not in danger or not unsafe. And I had to learn to, I learned the skill, I call it fuzzing out the radio station. So I just joined the 50s club last year. Um, so I'm an old geezer, but for you youngins, you have this digital button that you push to tune the radio. But us older, wiser people, we had a dial that we turned left and right. And when you turned it just right and the radio station came in, the light would come up, the LED light would light up, and we would think, oh, we got the station in really clear. And but hypervigilance works like that. It's that radio dial. So you have to learn, wait, I'm here. This is my name. It's today's date. There's no risk of anything. I'm okay. I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to fuzz this out. So I had to learn to fuzz that out.
That's a really good analogy, and survivors, what a great tip. Turn
Yeah.
that radio dial. That's it.
Fuzz that station out.
Yeah. Because your
So,
mind can't distinguish, I guess, Don, from what is
yeah.
real and what is imagined. So your trauma response will be heightened.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've looked through a number of resources and books. One of them is from Peter Levine, and he goes into, he has a book called Waking the Tiger, which is kind of the original, the seminal work. But then he has the current book, which is called just Healing Trauma, real slim and kind of the boiled down gravy of the book. And it has 12 exercises, somatic work in your body to tune in and listen to what's happening in your body and write it. He does come from a Buddhist perspective, but truth is truth, so it's fine. His chapter 2 is excellent. It's one that I recommend to go through to look at, trauma leaves residue. It leaves a fingerprint, and the symptoms that we live with as survivors, they're all the same. I mean, they're so we could have all different kinds of trauma and then run us down the line and we're all hitting same symptom, same symptom. Um, and we have to learn to deal with them. So first we need to know what it is we are living with, then we need to know how do we deal with it. um, so I found my way through a master's degree. It made me do the hard work with myself and part of my healing, and I was able to climb out of the pit, as I said, and find my way into the chair across the room where I had originally been the one in the chair. uh, and it was so interesting, the switch there. But it's a privilege, and just to sit with someone and to be trusted and to have them risk and open up to their story and what they're going through, and to be able to walk with regard, with respect, believing, hearing, affirming, supporting, all those things that we never got, maybe, or we did or we didn't get. um, and now I get to help others. I get to go in the burning building and bring others back out. So that's what I do.
Mm, thank you. That's just beautiful, amazing.
Mhm.
And just if I may, just looking at hypervigilance, it's an interesting one because I can so relate. That was one of my trauma responses or PTSD symptoms as well, or CPTSD, was
Mhm.
eyes in the back of your head. How many people are coming towards me? What's that noise to the side of me? Is Can I get
Mhm.
out the back way? That door's not locked. Bugger. And it's that sort of, it's like you're constantly surveying, isn't it? That,
Mhm. Yeah.
and what do you think of that as a fairly common or not uncommon trauma response for survivors of sexual abuse, child sexual abuse?
There we go. It's one of the big ones. I would say it's a tent pole.
Yeah.
Another similar one, or another one that is kind of a big tent pole, is the compulsion to repeat. That we recreate the dynamics of our trauma because we're trying to make sense of it. Maybe our bodies recognize that we're ready to heal, and we recreate those dynamics because we're just trying to understand, why did that happen?
Mm.
Is there something wrong with me? Did I do something wrong? Here's the answer to that. Trauma doesn't make any sense. It never will. So recreating the dynamics doesn't help you, but we do that habituation of repeating it over and over again, and we get caught in the loop of it. And I'll catch myself and I'll say, I'm doing it again, but
it's
it's a new way.
it's also partly where the brain was at the age you were when the abuse occurred,
Right.
so I think there's a whole lot of that stuff too. But, Don, you haven't just been sitting there, and I know survivors are going to have a chuckle at this because it's such a theme that occurs. It's so amazing. I've yet to meet a survivor who isn't an overachiever or a perfectionist. So,
Mhm.
knowing you, it's not just about the work you do. You also have happened to write several books now.
Yes,
Are you able to share a bit about those? Do you happen to have them on hand for us?
I do. And only because I watched Phil's video.
Oh.
So you should all go watch Phil Goldstein's video. And poor guy, he forgot to bring his book. I have it. It's great. I've read it, highly recommend it. And we both have poetry in common. So yeah, the first book I wrote and published is called The Packing House. Um, and this is now the second printing. This printing is published in the US and the UK, and with a mental health focused publisher. So, and I so love it when you purchase through them, half the proceeds go back into the charity, and they're educating everyone about
Oh,
mental health in the UK and the US.
oh, that's amazing.
So I love it. I'm so happy.
Oh, that's amazing. Gosh, you really do just keep giving, Don, don't you? Do you actually have that? Where can people purchase that from you?
Well, you can go to our publisher is the big publisher is Trigger Publishing, and then Cherish Editions is the imprint. But you can get it at Amazon, at Barnes and Noble,
Okay.
um, all over the place. I cannot believe this, but fun fact on the cover, I have a 5-star review from Amber Smith, and she's a New York Times bestselling author,
Oh,
and wrote a similar survivor type story. And also on the back cover, Brendan Kiley very kindly read and gave the most amazing review.
wow.
I just cried and sobbed
Oh,
when I received it. So there's a little snippet of it on the back cover. I can't believe I wrote something that these New York Times best-selling authors took time to read it and gave it a lovely review.
oh.
So
Well,
um,
well deserved. Congratulations.
thank you. And I chose not to write it as a memoir. I chose to write it as a bit of a fictionalized version of my survivor story, only to give myself a little bit of space. It was a choice to protect. The editing took 5 years. I rewrote the book like 60 times, and then another 5 years the second go round. So it's heavily edited. It is heavily rewritten and rewritten and rewritten because I was trying to really just get it right and to pay respect to all survivors. So I was trying to be inclusive, not just tell my story, but the story of all survivors. Um, I was representing male survivors, so tell a little bit of that. Maybe some things that weren't all entirely true for me, but I would say 95% of it was true for me. I've also had the privilege of being in two anthologies. So the first one is Things We Haven't Said. And this was a group of 25 survivors, only two males. Um, and it's subtitled Sexual Violence Survivors Speak Out, edited by Aaron Moulton. It received 2-starred reviews. And again, can't believe I got to be part of that. Um, but we don't make any money off of this. We wrote this with love to all of you. So this is my gift to you. We donate all the proceeds to rain.org
Yeah.
and to the Voices and Faces Project, which is a project to help trauma survivors go in community in a safe place with other survivors and write your stories together at the same time in a workshop,
Wow.
which I love.
I love
So,
that too. That's beautiful. And Don, you must hear from people who have read your book. Do you run workshops as well, or is that or do group work yourself? Offer it to people?
um, I've not had that opportunity come my way yet, but I will not turn anyone away if they want to come knock on my
Mm.
door. So feel free, send me an email. Find me
No,
on
that's it.
socials.
So tell people your email. We will put everything in the show notes, but what is your email, Dawn, if you're happy for people to email you?
Oh, sure. So it would be GDCRIBBS. Cribs just means curly hair. It's Latin for cool, curly hair. And at gmail.com.
Okay.
Last one, this anthology just came out. This is called Beating the Odds. And this is for male survivors. The whole book is male survivors, and we're all telling our stories. And in this one, I detail that what happened in the court with the judge. So for those who listened to part one, you know what I'm talking about. And if you didn't yet, go and listen to it. You'll know what we're talking about
You're a
here.
bit of a marketer as well, I see. So,
Uh-huh. Just
so I guess, just thinking about the how you've managed to turn it all around, how you've managed to overcome not just the horror of what happened, but the following 10 years, the the loss of mum in those couple of years where
Mhm.
perhaps you weren't living with her. Um, and then, of course, you then moved into the older version of you, where you'd spent 40 years, 4 decades, trying to make sense of it and recovering. And I think, as you alluded to, for us as survivors, we all kind of traverse a similar way, don't we? In our
Mhm.
recovery and healing, we all go through the stages of grief. We all experience similar PTSD or complex PTSD symptoms.
Mhm.
We're often in dysregulation,
Yes.
and our non-survivor counterparts can't, and understandably, get their head around it. But the reality is, there are so many of us, Don, and I guess what I'd be interested for our survivors in these last 5 or so minutes is your kind of take, or your kind of ideas you'd love to share that might actually, give them some tips or techniques or strategy when they're struggling. Talking about you guys watching, by the way, and you're welcome. Go, Don, over to you.
Wonderful. So I do come at this from a clinical perspective, a therapeutic perspective, and I looked out, what's out there, what are books that are and resources that are out there that we can get some help with and from. Um, and fortunately for us, there's a lot more available now than there was decades ago when we were just kind of flapping in the breeze. So I would say get out there and look for what those resources are, find the ones that are helpful for you. And my recommendation is this took a long time for it to even happen and then for you to work your way to a place where you're even stable to start trying to chip away at this. It's this huge elephant. You don't want to try to chomp that thing down, swallow it down your throat in one go. You really need to do it in increments. And so, my caution to everyone is don't put that hectic pressure on yourself to just go, go, go. I'm going to do 27 hours and then I can go to bed of research and studying and watching videos and
Mm,
educating. Like, you just go mad trying to do all that.
yeah,
Do it in little increments and pay your body that respect that was never shown to you and honor it and say, my body is telling me I can't do any more today. It's time to stop. And it's okay to do that. We have to listen to the things inside of us, the messengers. They're just trying to help us. And we need to learn to do better at listening to that. We got good at pushing it away because that was how we survived. Um, I would say the other thing I learned was I spent probably the first couple decades down in the pit. Um, Now, I come from a faith perspective, and with respect to everyone and wherever you are, totally fine. This is what worked for me. So I'm going to share my truth, invite you to come get on the show and share yours because we need to hear everyone's voice here. But I was down in the pit and I had read the Bible. I knew the story of Joseph, and that one resonated with me. I felt just like him, thrown in the pit, his brothers trying to kill him. And I thought that was me. In fact, I stood at the top of the pit with the brothers agreeing, you deserve to be down there. And it took me a long time sitting in the muck of that before I was able to climb out. And I would just say, understand that that's probably about the first phase is giving yourself permission to heal, to deserve that, to deserve to not have had the experience that you had, and to trust that you could climb out of this pit and you could start on your journey and you can start working towards tools and resources. Those typically look like um, ways to adapt and ways to thrive. So there's a model of recovery out there that says you start as a victim, you move to survivor, because you're not going to live and play victim your whole life. You're going to choose to survive. That's the beginning of the getting out of the pit. And then you're in the phase kind of toggling between adapter and thriver. Adapter, you learn ways of flexing and bending and moving and finding tools and resources that help you, breathing, grounding, all of those types of things. You thriver, you learn to have little moments of a break where you don't even remember that you're a trauma survivor. It kind of slips away, and go to the places that do that for you. My safe place was trees. I would run out of the house and climb a tree or go in the woods. And that's where I first felt safe. So I go back to my trees. I have them with me all the time. I have a fidget tool that's all trees. Um, and that's what we need to do. And then we want to move into that last phase of overcoming. And for me, that was writing my story. I hope the listeners will consider the arts. It's probably the best. This is something that Phil said in his video too. We need the arts. We need music and dance and uh, sculpting and painting and watercolor and all those things, especially because so much of those are not verbal.
Yes.
And our trauma is right brain. It's in the right side of our brain that's not verbal.
No.
We can't heal until we get over there and get into that. So we have to find ways to access that. For me, it was finding my voice, writing poetry, writing stories, telling my truth, and getting my voice back. That really freed me up. That really helped me to overcome. And then to hear readers who, especially those who are survivors, to say, yes, it was triggering and believe the trigger warning at at the beginning, but still a worthy thing to read through at your pace and find healing, find relief, find that resonant that I'm not alone. There's somebody else who kind of walked similar. We can all heal. We can all find our way together.
And I love that you're saying that because I think that resonates so deeply with our audience and with the survivor family watching. This is a safe place to land. There is community. There is a sense of, oh, I've landed. I'm safe. I have people I don't need to justify or explain to because this is what this is. Just I have one thing to check in with you on. It's when you were talking about don't chomp it down in one go and pushing ourselves too hard in terms of recovery or trying to heal. I would even go a step further and say actually as survivors, we're often like that with any task. We overwork, we spend so much time trying to get things done or finished, and we're just constantly achieving. So I thought that
Yes.
was interesting. We're just about to finish, so I guess I just wondered if you had any final kind of words, Don, you'd like to share?
Yeah. Yeah, I think as you find spaces where you can get to and connect with others, um, trauma is so isolating. It's really easy to slip under the uh, rug and try to blend into the um, wallpaper and hide under the table and maybe avoid getting hurt more. I certainly understand that with that fight, flight, freeze, fawn response, that last one, especially
Yeah.
when many of us are people pleasers. So we try to erase ourselves. Don't erase yourself. Understand who you are. So for me, with a faith perspective, I think of the fact that before I was made, God thought about me and he wrote on every cell of my body his autograph that I am worthy. We have 70 trillion cells. So just imagine if you read every one of those autographs, every cell of your body, 70 trillion times, you are worthy, you are worthy, you are worthy. To try to let that in through the cracks, let that seep in a little bit, sit with it, feel it, receive it. That's how we start to heal.
Thank you, Dawn. That's just beautiful and such a powerful message. So look, just please don't go anywhere. Stay right there. But I'm just going to close us out. So, survivors, that's the end of our interview with Dawn, and lots of amazing takeaways and lots of wisdom. And I just love his humility and compassion. And there's one thing, well, he said many, but there's one thing that stuck in my mind, and that was, the little increments we have as we try and achieve what we can, showing our body or giving our body the respect that was never given to us. I really like what that is. So as always, beautiful ones, you are so valued, you are so important, and standing right beside you.